so sorry to keep everyone waiting. Oh, it's so good to see your beautiful smile, LaDanya. Okay, could everyone hear me okay? I had a little some mic issues. So I just need to make sure that everyone could hear me. If I could get a thumbs. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so my name is Chana. Thank you guys. I am the singles outreach officer here at Wifer. And every month we have these conversations where we talk specifically with the singles, about topics that we feel would benefit, just specifically the singles in the community. And so this month, for the last conversation of the year, we have 5 beautiful Kingdom women who agreed to join us tonight to share a little bit of their experience, some testimony, share their experience on what they wish they knew before they were married. So just to kind of let you know how this is going to go, I spoke with them individually to kind of get some feedback on some things that they wish they would have known. And I put together some questions, not really to be a strict conversation, but just to kind of get the conversation going, because they each shared with me some things that, if I had known this, or this is something that we should consider, this is something that we should talk about. And so now, ladies, without further ado, if maybe each of you could just give everyone your name, how did you and hubby meet, and how many years you were married? And Christina, you could start first. Let's go, because you first on my screen.
Good evening, ladies. So I'm Christina. I am the new wives officer here for Wife Her and part of the core team. I have been married been with my husband for 10 years, but of the 10, we've been married for 3. So still kind of considering that newlywed phase since we got married a month before the shutdown in 2020. So I don't really count our first year of marriage. So I'm going to say we've been together. I can't count it tomorrow. So 2 years.
I come for something. Go ahead, Tamara. Oh, wait,
everyone. Yeah,
wait, you didn't say how you met.
thank you.
Humblest apologies. Um, so funny story. I met my husband through my best friend, and I first heard of him when we were still at university. And like I said, he was my best friend's friend, and he wanted to come up to visit with another friend of ours. And I remember telling my best friend, no, I don't know this strange man. I don't want this strange man coming to our apartment. Like, no, not a problem. Fast forward like a year and a half later, I actually run into him in person, and he was like, yeah, I'm the one who you didn't want to come up and visit. And I was like, oh, haha, funny, funny. And then we started to talk. We became friends, and here we are 10 years later.
Strange man become your husband.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tamara.
Good night, everyone. I am Tamara, Vice President of Wife Her and whatever else Sammy gives me to do. I am here for it all. Married August 2nd, made 15 years to my one good husband, Richard Desmangles. We met in high school, did not date, did not anything. His story is totally different, but we reconnected after high school at a friend's party, became each other's confidant, and then the rest is history. So that's us.
Oh, high school sweethearts. Well, no, that was easy because y'all didn't date in high school.
Not at all. I was dating someone else.
Ooh, excuse me.
Yes.
That's only according to Tamara. You have to listen to Richard's side of the story.
It's okay. It's okay.
Go ahead, Kadra.
Good night, everybody. My name is Kadra Sawyer. I have been married 6 years. I made that face because it feels like forever, right? We've been together 14 years total. And yeah, 14 years total. Sorry, that sounds like a lot. I wasn't expecting that out my mouth just now. And we met at church. I saw him and I was like, ooh. And then the rest is history.
Rest is history. LaDonya.
Good night, everyone. My name is LaDonya Pratt. I'm also a part of the core team. And oh, geez, I get cringe every time I have to tell the story. We like to say we met at Sandilands, not as patients, but as co-workers. But our paths always seem to cross because me and him, we grew up in Freeport, went to the same school, was in the same area. We even lived like a block away, but we never really met until we were at work. So he became my work bestie, which turned into something else. And everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with them too. But they didn't know. So here we are 9 years later. We will be 10 next May.
Oh, wow. Did anyone you work with, did they ever figure it out? Like your coworkers, did they ever know like they got something going on? Or
I have some coworkers on the live right now. A lot of them would say that they figured it out, but they was a little late. So I'll tell y'all about that later on today.
okay, it's a little late.
Mhm.
Okay, Bree, last but certainly not least.
Good night, everybody. I'm just so excited to see all faces, girls. I haven't seen in a while. My name is Bree, and I am a member of the core team. And listening to these dates and times, I guess I could call myself the baby of the core team. The baby of the core team. Me and my husband, how did we meet? Well, we met at a family function, my family's function. And I just was so smitten by him and his energy. And I found out that apparently he was smitten by me too. So I fed him a plate of food and I've been feeding him ever since. I took up his plate. I'm like, going to this guy right over there. Nobody else touch his plate. And I've been feeding him for the last 5 years. And we've been married for 3. We're going to be married for 3 in January.
Okay. But you've been together for 5 years.
Yeah, we've been together for 5 years and we've been married. We're going to be married for 3 in January, January 4th.
Say, let me go stop cooking. That's funny. So let's talk about before the wedding, right? Did any of you do premarital counseling? Did all of you do it? Was it beneficial? You know, now that you're in it. I know, Tamara, do you and your husband do premarital counseling? Like, I feel like you, I don't know. I thought you told me before that you coach or something.
No, we did a coaching class, but we
Oh.
have not officially, like, this is so funny because somebody said this to me last night. We do not do premarital counseling, but we are advocates for premarital and postmarital. We did premarital 6 months before getting married, and we continued straight up to our first year anniversary.
Oh, okay. So you continued going.
We continued going.
So did all of you do premarital?
Yeah, we did. And funny, we didn't do it with our pastor, but we were very insistent on doing it because our church didn't do it. So we insisted on doing it with somebody's pastor. And it rang true for us. You know, some of the things that we didn't understand at the time when he said it, you could kind of see where that information became helpful later.
Okay, so you did find it beneficial. And Tamara, you said it was beneficial for you guys straight up until even after to the 1 year mark, you didn't feel like, okay, we doing too much, let's stop. Y'all felt like
No,
okay.
we continue going because at that point you in it. And for us, we had a book that we were given that we wanted to complete that encompassed so many different facets of marriage. And we, even though we may not have gone through it at that point, we still wanted to be prepared. So it was like once a month, like it ain't that much. It wasn't requiring that much to not do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful that we did.
Bree, I see you have your hand raised.
Okay, so me and my husband, we did a very short premarital counseling. We probably did about 2 to 3 sessions with a pastor. He was not our pastor because we didn't share a church, or we didn't share a church or anything like that. My husband we weren't really fully active in the church. So we did about 3 sessions with the pastor. It was very informative. But it's definitely something that we continue to do after the marriage because we didn't spend a significant amount of time doing the counseling. And if I could go back in time, I would. I remember one pastor who I initially wanted to marry us. He said, "Don't give him a date." He said to let him work with us. Don't tell him I need to have premarital counseling because we get married in June or nothing. And to be honest, I wasn't for that because I'm like, I need to hurry up do this because I really doing that. So I need to hurry up do this and get this over with. And I wish I had taken his advice. So it kind of made the first year of marriage a little bit more rough because we didn't do that extensive counseling. So I would definitely because of my experience tell people sit down with someone, don't put a date on it. I know we all have that, but you might find things out during that pre-period that may need you to dig deeper, or that may need to be approached in certain ways. So that's been my experience. So now I am pro premarital counseling as long as it takes.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear 2 different, because you said you had you and your husband did it for a shorter period of time. Tamara said they did it straight into first year of marriage. Both of you and Kadra said definitely go ahead and do it. It's not like a waste. LaDonya, and you had your hand raised first, and then I think Christina.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, and not really go too deep, but just say yes, we did as well. We didn't go as long as Tamara them. I wish we did, but we didn't. And likewise, we didn't use a pastor who we were at the ministry with at the time. I wonder if that's like a hack or something. Like, don't go to your
I
pastor.
was just gonna ask, how come? Like all y'all didn't go with y'all pastor.
No, well, I was in transition at the time, so I was looking for a church home, and it didn't really solidify a place yet. So the fact that my pastor, because he then became my pastor, was able to do it and willing to do it and work with us, that was very, very, very kind, I would say, because I don't think you should take it lightly and just marry anybody all willy-nilly. But I think from even being in the sessions, he was able to see how we were compatible and working together and how our purpose was aligning. And that's what I wanted to say, that in premarital counseling, we were able to solidify that, like to see where our values align, where our beliefs align. Even though we've had the conversations before, when pastor was asking us certain questions, we was like, yeah, tell me how you feel about that. And then it'll be like, okay, I feel that same way. So it kind of helped a lot with making sure, like, okay, yeah, I think we get in the right direction.
And how long did you guys do it?
I think we did 8 weeks. And I think we even missed a few. So we may have only did 7 weeks. Yeah, like back to back.
Yeah. Christina?
So yeah, me and my husband, we did 2 types of counseling, actually. I am a very big advocate for therapy, counseling, the works. And so we did counseling with my pastor who married us closer to our wedding day. But before that, we did actual marriage counseling with a licensed therapist, like a relationship coach. Marriage counselor, just because, yes, pastors, they come at it from one angle, but like actually we need like real life scenarios and things that could possibly happen, how to properly deal with certain issues, like healthy ways to fight fair. And so I was big on that. My husband, he was like, I don't need anybody in our business, X, Y, and Z. I was like, if you want to marry me, we need to do this together. And so surprisingly, he ended up being the one talking the most in the sessions. And so I am a big advocate for premarital counseling, not even with your pastor, go and see a actual licensed like marriage counselor. And I also believe in with Tamara with, doing it longer in the first year. But even if you do, like me and my husband, we still do counseling now 3 years in, just, maintenance. Like you're not the same person when you get married as you are as you continue to grow in your marriage. And so you do need a refresher. Sometimes the two of you can come out of sync. And so it kind of helps to put you guys back on one accord. So I believe in premarital counseling and then postmarital counseling as well.
Bree, I see you had your hand.
I just want to add one more thing. If I can be authentic for a moment for persons who may be on this and they may be able to relate to this. I was already pregnant when I got married. And I think it's important to share that because some people may find themselves in that shoe or already found themselves in that shoe. And that kind of clouds when you are trying to get your life sorted or get walk strong in your faith. And you find yourself like me, already having sex before marriage, pregnant with my second child. You may feel like you're in a rush to clean things up, so you may skip out on a lot of things. So for me at that time, it was like, hey, I need to get married before I go in this hospital one more time, and the baby last name different than my last name, and all of these different things. And then you have your family members, they know your walk with Christ, or they know your cause, and they're putting pressure on you. So still take that time because you remember that you're walking in God's grace. You're not walking, it's not about anybody else. You're walking in God's grace, and don't allow like society, what people may think, to cause you to skip essential parts like that. Because even though the baby was what kind of pushed me to rush and get married, the baby isn't going to keep the marriage together. The baby can sit down and counsel you when you and your husband going through or having disagreements. So for the sake of that baby, whoever's watching this or whoever may watch it afterwards, for the sake of that baby, do it the right way. Get the help that you need, because it's not good. It's not going to be good enough. That won't be a good enough excuse, and it will set you back, and it will affect that very child or those children that you think you're doing it for. So don't allow being in the middle of that phase, or in the middle of which would feel like a sin or whatever the circumstances may be, cause you to rush. So I would definitely say to those out there in the middle of it, you're already living together, you're already still doing it. You do so just because you're living together, just because you've been playing husband and wife, doesn't mean that you know it all. So take that time.
Yeah, still take your time. I appreciate you sharing that, Bree, because not only with that, but there's so many things that would pressure women or men to make that, like to get married. And I'm glad you shared that. My next question was actually going to be on the transition of living together after, and so I guess let's start with you. Did the dynamics change at all after marriage? Were you guys already living together before, or?
Yes, we were living together before we got married. So because we were living together and doing all of that, we thought that we knew how marriage went. But the level of commitment and now the introduction of what God expects of us and us doing this unto God, it kind of changed the dynamic in the home. So it did create a change.
Okay. For any of you ladies, LaDonya, were you living with your husband now before marriage, or after you guys moved in after?
Shacking up? Yes, we were shacking up, child. So the story was, our living situation had gotten really complicated, and I had an apartment with my cousin, and then she decided to move to Abago, and I was like, well, how are you gonna pay for this apartment? And he's like, I can move in. I was like, okay. All right. So yeah, we were living together. Afterwards, I didn't really feel that much of a change because
Okay.
it was always just like I was living with my friend. And like even now, it still feels like I'm just living with my friend.
Okay, so when you guys moved, how long after moving in together did you guys get married?
Mm, probably 6 months or
Okay.
so. It was quick. It was quick.
Yeah. So it didn't change at all. Basically, it was just like the same type of, you didn't have any adjustments to make, basically.
The
Okay.
adjustment was when he moved in that first time. I
Uh-huh.
was the adjustment. And like having a PlayStation in the house and stuff like that. That was an adjustment. So yeah.
What about you, Tamara?
So Richie and I did not live together before marriage, but prior to him, I lived with someone
Okay.
for like 2 years. I grew up in a home where my parents weren't married. I was in a two-parent home, but they weren't married. And so for me, when I was 19, I was like, Stu says I'm out. And I'm like, me and the guy moved in. And I would say that after that relationship, I knew that I didn't want to do it again unless I was married.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
So you
I
wouldn't
was in my own place
recommend.
before I got married. So Richie was always there, but he officially like we moved in together after marriage. And it was a transition in a sense that, you're used to stuff being where you put it and then it ain't there where you put it, or you're getting now used to this person and their habits. And it's be little funny little things, like little things that you think may not annoy you, or I live with the bread being on top of the fridge, you live with the bread being inside the fridge. Like up to today, like you don't know that there's a cap on the toothpaste to close it up, like them kind of things that you just to say, I can just that I live with. The toilet seat, we little okay. We okay with the toilet seat. The air condition, I'm the one who I need the air all the time. Him not so much. But it's just be those things like you realize you're different. You're different. So for me, it wasn't the big things. I think it was more so just the little things that, okay, yeah. I wonder if this a gender thing more so than this a Tamara Richard thing. So yeah.
Okay. Kadra, what about you? Did you guys live together before marriage? And what aspects of the relationship changed once you guys started living together?
No, we didn't. So, one, I saw a question in there. So for us, we were long distance for 5 years of our relationship, the first 5 years. So we really only had 1 year of dating in person, which I would say dating every day. That's what I call it. Because I'm not gonna lie, long distance, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to see you. It's a beautiful time. I'm back out for a couple months and I'll see you again. So it was a massive adjustment for us when we got married, or for me. Let me speak for myself. For me, when we got married, I'm also the youngest of my siblings, so I got very used to kind of be expecting my own space, not having to share a bed, and then I lived alone when I was in university. So for me, that was one of the biggest adjustments when we first got married, moving in together, like Tamara and everybody said, getting used to that person being in your space and then learning how to be respectful in those disagreements. Because how you deal in sibling relationships or other type of familial relationships is not the same way that you'd want to deal with your spouse in those same things. If my sister take my shirt, it's on site, you know what I mean? It's not like that with something with your spouse.
Yeah, you can't carry on like that with your spouse.
No, because siblings is just gonna roll off their back and you're back to best friends later. So that for me, that was the most major adjustment. Because obviously the benefit of long distance is all we did was talk continuously. So
And now you had someone to share a space with.
yeah,
That's an
and even
adjustment.
seeing someone that often.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Christina, what about you? Oh, Christina stepped away. Okay.
Sorry, right here. Just my hair got hooked in the zipper. Anyway,
Sorry.
no, Livingston, not a day like it. So I didn't. We there was no shacking up. There was no none of that. My mother. Oh, I would get put out first, but no, we didn't. And one sec. So, and the reason being is it's not for everybody, but just for me, I know the type of person that I am. And so for me, if I did prior to the moment I didn't like something that he did, I was gone. I was gonna pack all my stuff and it was we were done. I think it was moving in after we got married kind of forces you to have to deal with things, forces you to have to learn how to properly deal with your problems, communicate properly. Because guess what? We married, we're going, have an argument, go in the front room, come back, we can figure this out. If we had lived together and we got into an argument, guess what? I was packing my stuff and I was leaving. So personally for me, I had to wait until I got married just because I knew the person that I was, the same as, I see everybody talking about sharing a bed. Yeah, I don't like to. And so that would have been the first thing that I had to issue.
In my space every day.
Oh, exactly. Like even to this day now, when he goes out and like I know I get the bed to myself, I'm like, thank you, Lord. So it works for some people. I know of some who it has worked out in there for them. Like the transition has been fine thereafter. I know for some it hasn't, because also for me, I'm all kind of like, why buy the milk and you can get the cow for free kind of thing. And so for me, it's just like, this man is not getting the best of me if he's not making me his wife first. So that was my whole mentality about not living together. Sorry about my mom in the background with my child, but yeah.
Samara, you had mentioned at 19, you decided I'm not staying with no one again unless we're married. Like, what made you make that decision? Like, looking back on it now, like, what would you tell 19-year-old Tamara?
I would tell 19-year-old Tamara to know her worth more. I would tell 19-year-old Tamara not because it was accepted, personally, socially, culturally, means it's okay. I love my parents dearly. Like people did not think my mommy was not a steward, and like she would answer to a steward, but like we knew that they weren't married, and I'm talking like this, like 40 years strong. But that's what I would say, and I've had that conversation with my mom prior to her passing, like, mommy, like, why, like, daddy, like, why, like, let's pay for the, I legit, let's pay for the wedding. Let's just make it right, So that's what I would have said to myself, like, not because mommy and daddy did it and they're okay, you don't follow that same footsteps. And I'm glad that I didn't, because looking at the children I have and being that mother of, be your best self, it would have made it complex. I could see me like stuttering, trying to explain to them, no, why you don't need to shack up. And mommy and daddy was doing it. So.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's go to something a little lighter, the wedding planning, or is it? Let's talk about wedding planning for a second. So what surprised you with your wedding planning journey, like that you did not consider prior to starting your wedding planning? Well, first of all, did y'all plan with your husbands?
I can go. No. Long long story short, no, I didn't. He made it very clear at the beginning, this is for you. Just let me know how much certain things cost. And the only thing that he was concerned about is what him and his groomsmen were gonna wear. And yeah, I think that was about it.
That was easy. I mean, you like that, or you
Oh,
prefer-
that was the perfect thing because I was already going through World War III with my mother. I just didn't need another person to battle with when it came to making decisions on certain things. So honestly, best thing ever, I think, for me.
What about you, Bree?
Y'all know my input always can be off the wall. So from a little girl, I never dreamed of a wedding. Never wanted it, never thought about it. One of the reasons was I don't want to say we weren't a rich family. Right? So I never when I understood the custom, the bride family is paid for, or the bride's father is pays for the wedding, or I think that's how it goes. I definitely wasn't thinking that way, but it just was never a desire of mine. I was always more concerned about the union, rather than the wedding. And I was also super shy. Something about the whole walking up and kissing in front of everybody, and it just wasn't gonna work for me. So now my husband, I owe him something, y'all. I owe him like a wedding or something, some 10-year celebration. I owe him something because he's soft and he likes to dress up and be all cute. But we got married privately. Just about 5 people there. And I was content with that. Like I said, probably later on after another milestone, probably 5 years or 10 years, because the money come in and we will have more to celebrate. But it wasn't something that I even felt pressured to do. And then it was never something that I really, really gave thought. So I know that some people think, the wedding is the most exciting thing. And then I don't know if I could have just invited the whole, because my mom, she wanted a wedding and she was all, I got to invite, the parents have to have this amount. And I'm like, we ain't doing that. So we talked out on all of them and we just said we had to do it.
Oh, so it was like an elopement.
It wasn't like an elope,
Oh, okay.
but we just left them over there. we told them what we were doing, and it was I really am glad that we did. I wouldn't do it no different. I wouldn't do it any different. Like I said, in years to come, probably in another 2 years, I think 5 years a good milestone, or even 10 years a good milestone, we can go back and do something worth celebrating. Hopefully, our parents and loved ones are still with us. But it was never something that I felt for, and I hope that other people aren't pressured, because it's all about what you want. What makes you happy, what makes you comfortable. I'm not afraid to say that that's something that we couldn't afford. I'm not ashamed of that either, because it made way for us to continue to do more important things that we needed to support our union and our children that we already had. So especially even with the children in play, I'm spending a certain amount on a wedding wouldn't have been wise. I'm okay with that decision.
Yeah. That's good, especially the fact that you said you have no regrets, you would do it again. That's all that matters. LaDonya, what surprised you about your wedding planning journey?
This is a very good question. For those who don't know, I actually was married before, so I had 2 weddings. So the first one, it's such a blur. But we did all of the things, the flower girl, the ring bearer, and all this stuff, and the after ceremony party and all that stuff. It wasn't a big something, but it was on a more grander scale than I have experienced, because nobody in my family, well, let me take that back. I haven't experienced like a marriage, wedding, something in my family per se. My mother wasn't married, and my grandmother got married when I was 2. So I was in the wedding. So that should tell you something, right? But it wasn't anything like those grand events or anything. So I've never even had in my mind anything great where I needed a wedding planner and a florist and this and the cake and the da 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 da. It wasn't all of that for me for the first one. But the second one, I was like, yeah, we can keep this very small, because all that other stuff, it just don't matter. To me, it just did not matter. And my husband told me the other day, said he never wanted to get married. Like, that was never even like we dream of it and we want it so desperately. He's like, no, that wasn't on my radar. I said, would you marry me for then? And he's like, because I want to spend my life with you. When I met you and I saw how our life is going, I wanted to be with you. I was like, oh, that's a good answer, because you almost lost a good one there, boy. So from there, we both just was like, just keep it small, just keep it simple. We had 15 people total at our wedding. 15, not 50. 15 total. And we both agreed on that. We both agreed on who was coming. We both agreed on where it was to be and how much money we would spend. So it was not a frustrating process at all. It was just, you want this? Yeah, okay, let's go with it. Like, we was just in sync.
Straight to the point. Straight to the point. Okay. So for the sake of time, let me move to finances. So statistics show, why you do your face like that, LaDonya? Statistics show that financial disagreements is one of the leading causes of divorce. So what did you wish you knew about partnering with someone else financially? And then maybe share what, something that may have worked for you guys.
So I could go. Because, when you talk to like your friends who are married, you try to figure out, hey, what do you guys do with your finances? How do you guys budget? So you go around, like I did that. I talked to like several of my friends who were married, and I asked them, how do you guys manage your finances? How do you split? Y'all have all like a joint account? Does all the money go into one account? Do you have and so different things work for different people. So you don't have to copy what anybody else does. Do what works best for you and your spouse, because everybody has like different opinions of what is the best and what isn't. And so for me and my husband, all of our finances are still separate. Like we still don't have a joint account, and not for just like lack of not wanting it, just for me. He works hard for his money. I work hard for my money. At the end of the day, we just need to make sure that bills are paid, or anything that needs to be done with the two of us are taken care of. Like, that's our main thing, is every month, hey, make sure the bills are paid, make sure money is put up in like separate savings if need be, and like something is, if an emergency for the two of us, and then spend your money how you want to do so. And because a friend of mine was like, oh, maybe you should join your finances. And the Lord is still working on me and some of my selfishness when it comes to my money, but I just cannot fathom having to tell my husband or ask him, can I have an undisclosed amount of money to buy a bag that I don't need but I want? Because the moment he tells me no, I could freak out. And so just to avoid any unnecessary arguments in our household, he spends his money how he wants to. I spend mine how I want to. If the event that we need something joint, we collaborate, we come together. If he doesn't have it, I do. If I don't have it, he does. And so just a matter of finding out what works best, because it's also not conducive if you join finances and then you come and find out that maybe your spouse is a spender and not a saver. Or so people think that cheating is only when it comes to like infidelity. No, you could have financial infidelity. It could be spending money gambling and you don't know certain things. And so I think it's important to just be transparent about it if that is the person, or just still have some kind of separation when it comes to finances in the event that those things come up, because they do. Like, a lot of people don't think about that, but that is something that to be cognizant of, like your spending habits, the type, are you a saver? Are they a spender? Like, are two of y'all spenders? God help you. However, but that's not to say that you can't work together with it. As well as who is the planner, who is the, like, you have to figure out all these things when it comes to finances, because I don't think, it's just like, oh, someone's making more money, this is why like a marriage can't work. I think it's not being transparent, not being honest about how you are with money that causes the issues when it comes to finances, and holding your weight where you can and being okay with it. So my husband knows I'm the better saver and I plan. He just how much it costs. And he could give it to me. Like, that's all he's concerned about. And he'll tell you, if it was up to him, the bill could get paid. But I promise I'll like always gotta have a late fee, because my husband just don't be checking for things like that. And so it's best that he just gives me it and let me take care of it. And so finding out what works best for y'all, and don't go try and match someone else's marriage and then cause yourself in the long run. So yeah.
That's some good advice, Christina. Thank you. Kadra, what did you wish that you knew before marriage about partnering financially?
That maybe what works before you have kids might not work after. And being open to changing how your dynamic works. Because I mean, I'm blessed to have had like a lot of good advice before I got married, right? Not just from counselors, but family members. And so we got a joint account. I'll be honest, before we had kids, I just did not see the point of putting very much money in it. Because like Christina said, I earn that. I won't spend that. I don't want to have to explain what I spend that on. But then a time does come where responsibilities shift over your marriage, whether it's property or children or, illness, God forbid, but things change. And really, if you're building a life together, to at least be open to the idea of saying there may be times where we have to share our money jointly. There may be times when it's just part of our money is necessary. And then there may be times where having it completely separate is best. I think that's something that I wasn't anticipating the ebbs and flows quite as much. As, like, because COVID, none of us were expecting COVID. And, some people's industries completely shut down and others people's own stayed open. So, having Christina touched on it, having the transparency to say, hey, it's the pride is taken away from the financial situation, and in its place is, okay, well, we're partners. If it's my turn to step up, that's kind of what I signed up for, in sickness and in health, and better or worse. So, keeping the financial aspect as open as we keep people's well-being in marriage.
So, shifting a little bit, how did you all establish household duties? Was this discussed prior to marriage or after? Tamara, you go first. Because you done tell us how you had to get used to someone being in your space. You was doing things.
So for us, because I lived on my own, like I knew what it was to do stuff, right? But I also knew what I didn't want to do when I get married. And so I was living on my own, but I did not clean the bathroom. Like I hate cleaning the bathroom. I hate cleaning the tub. I hate them stuff, right? So we didn't discuss it per se, but we just from conversation, we knew the likes and dislikes. And so we have this thing that we've coined exclusive duties around home. And it's funny because our children, they laugh. So like, for an example, I do not wash dishes. If I wash dishes, it's a miracle. So I washed dishes the other day Takaya came home and I wasn't there because Richie had already called and said, we ran out of Dawn. Please stop and get some because we normally buy stuff wholesale. So I was like, well, why we have to get it? He didn't know I washed the dishes. So when they came home, Takaya with all her dramatics, oh my God, it's a miracle. Mommy washed the dishes. So it's like, whatever. But that's an exclusive duty. I don't wash dishes. Just like he don't fold clothes. Like he don't fold clothes. So if I see him folding clothes, I'm like, oh my God, your hand is work. Like really? Yeah, like so it's just certain things we've just come to, like you wash the dishes, I fold the clothes, I put away the clothes, you hang up the clothes, you do the bathroom, I'll do something else, you know. So it's just, but it's a conversation because my thing is we both work. We both have very mental jobs, like we use our minds all day. We both have a team. So it would be kind of unfair if your expectation is sis coming home to cook, clean, wash, and do everything else when both of us been doing what we doing. So that's, it's a conversation to have because it could be frustrating. Like right now, it's frustrating for me because my husband don't plan vacations. He's very spoiled in that. So, you know, we planning the trip. He's supposed to be planning the trip. He don't. He just know. He needs to know when to put him for vacation from work and what time we got to be to the airport. So, yeah.
So this is a good question. So someone says, at what point in your marriage did you come to that agreement? Because I know you 15 years in, so things flowing a little smoothly. But at what point did y'all come to that?
I think probably in the first year. Like I think in the first year, we come to that, like what
All
I
just new.
about to do and what I ain't doing. And just like we had conversations, like I believe if I'm working, and call me, I don't think I'm selfish. I just think I'm very real. But you meet me working and you met me working being very kept. Like I got my hair done and I got my nails done. And so for me, when we got married, after tides, I'm gonna get my hair done, I'm gonna get my nails done, and then everything else is gonna flow. So don't expect me to cut that out if I work in. I ain't doing it. Like it's just, I think it's just being real and truthful and transparent is key. Like, because I ain't doing it. Like I just ain't doing it.
So that was disclosed before marriage.
Yeah, that was disclosed
Okay.
before March. Because my comeback is you go to the barber every week or every 2 weeks. So my bill might be more than yours, only going once a month, but I can go because
Yeah.
I work and I work hard. So
Right.
I ain't doing it.
Sonia, you had your hand raised.
I wanted to jump on this question because it's so important to be clear about these roles because I feel like I get swing. My husband has this saying, this is what I met him saying, is that his grandfather taught him that when you feel sand under your foot, you sweep it. So I was like, right. So me thinking that whenever you see something that needs to be done, you do it. He don't feel sand. He don't feel rocks. He don't feel nothing. So I feel like swing because it was like, don't you see the dirt? Don't you see it on the floor tracking through the house? Oh, yeah, man, I can do that. You do it. So we had to get back on that. What is sand under the foot? Because your son is not my son, and my son ain't your son. So we had to be clear. That's all I say. Be very clear. Very clear.
Play on those rules.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Christina.
I do agree, be very upfront at the beginning of what it is that you will and will not do. But also I want to make a note that understand different seasons, certain things will have to shift. So mind you, for me, I never take out the garbage. I can never take out the garbage. So that's the one thing for me. I never taking out the garbage.
Seasoning,
Um, I left my parents' house not taking out the garbage because my daddy, I moved in with my husband, and he came home one day and asked me, and I looked at him, I was like, you could have possibly thought it was me that was gonna take that out. But also just like when it comes to cooking, like Tamara mentioned, my husband, his mother was a stay-at-home mom for a time, and so he was used to her being in the house cooking all of this. When I met my husband, I was very clear in telling him cooking is not my ministry. I can do it because I know that I need to sustain myself, but I don't enjoy being in the kitchen as much as I hate washing dishes with Tamara because hi. And so he washes the dishes, and like I said, I don't care for cooking, but understanding that he came from that house. But I made it very clear to him, I'm not your mother, so please don't expect this from me, because when Row Day comes, I don't want you to say you married me for my cooking, because we all know that's a lie. That's not what you married me for. So we were very clear about certain things that just were not going to get done by me, were not going to get done by him, and adjusting and finding a way for it to flow for the two of us, or acknowledging, okay, if he cooks, I could wash the dishes. If I cook, he could wash the dishes. He's always going to take out the garbage. I will probably always have to wash and fold the clothes, which is just fine. Like, I have just come to terms with that. But like I said, in certain seasons, like my job allotted me time to come home and have enough time to cook. And so for him, who works longer hours, that was something that I had to work out with my selfishness and not wanting to cook. But like, no, if I come home and I'm legit home like 3 hours before him, that's enough time for me to take a nap, do whatever it is that I need to do, and still prepare dinner. So understanding that it may not be something that you want to do, but if it's something that will benefit just the harmony within your marriage, just take on certain roles. Like it's not always worth a fight. It's not always worth, causing discord in your marriage. But I'm very big on saying what you ain't, like I tell you, I'm never taking out the garbage. But I will cook every now and then if it is something that serves my husband
every
ultimately.
now and then.
Yeah, like you're serving your marriage ultimately first and foremost than your own selfish needs or what you want and don't want to do.
Mhm. Does he like to cook?
My husband loves to cook. My husband is a better cook than me, and I keep telling people this, which is why I told him I married him for his cooking, if nothing else. That's why I married him, for his cooking, nothing else.
So it seemed like you said the same thing what Tamara was saying with the exclusive duties. Like y'all have some exclusive. Bree, I see you have your hand raised, honey.
Sorry. So I came into marriage, even before marriage relationship, very overzealous, wanting to serve and do everything. I wanted to be the wife that cooked, cleaned, sewed, paint. I just want to be able to do everything. And for a long time, that is what I did. Up until most recently, when I had to be honest with how it was affecting me. Because both me and my husband, we both contributed financially. So it wasn't as if I just was home doing nothing, and but I wanted to do everything because I thought that's what a good woman was. I thought that was how to distinguish myself. I thought that would make him love me more. I thought that would make him never want to leave me. These are the things I thought. When you grow up under old persons, strong. When you grow up under old persons like my Grammy, or even when you meet people in certain seasons of their lives. So, for example, I met this lady at a season of her life where she was retired, and she did everything. Now she's like 60 or 50 something, and she did everything for home, and I admired that, and I tried to impose that on my 25-year-old self, not realizing that, hey, this lady, she's at a different stage. I want to do all of that, and then it took a toll on me physically, especially after bearing 2 children. And it came a point where I had to have a conversation with my husband, because he knew that I was eager to serve, and he didn't, because I wouldn't complain about it, he didn't take initiative to shift the load. And it wasn't until I had the conversation with him, until I had to be honest, because I'm an open saying, you know, I'm tired or it's too much. I used to be up from 5 o'clock in the morning cooking lunch to make sure I pack, and I mean, just doing the most. But while it is a good practice, if you can do it, you can do it. Depending on your different setup or whatever it may be, but never, I would say, don't spoil the person. Don't make them completely dependent on you, because also in a situation where if something goes wrong, if you are sick or if you are incapable, you want to make sure that they can function on their own for the sake of your family, especially when you have children. So if the children, he needed to know what needed to be done, the way we do things. So I wouldn't tell anyone to take it all on trying to be wife of the year. It doesn't make you any less of a good woman to require that partnership, or, you know, to speak up. One of the things that I hated was when I would go to sleep in the night, my husband, for some reason, his snacks include the stove. I don't know why his snacks include the stove, but he would just be cooking up a storm in the night, and I wake up in the morning and meet dishes. And that really, I found it to be inconsiderate. So I had to say, you know, hey, I don't clean up the thing. I'm at least when I wake up in the morning, let me leave my kitchen clean like how I left it. You know, and you don't teach people to weigh you down like that. That's another thing. Don't teach it, because exactly what you teach people or allow them to do, they will continue to do, not because they're selfish or inconsiderate, but you set that premises for yourself. So you definitely need to be willing to be open about it, and just, you know, don't set that tone for yourself. And there are things like throwing out the garbage thing. I agree. I think that's some things are manly things. I think that is for a man. I should not be going to the garbage. I shouldn't be lifting the 5 gallon out the car over on the water thing. Certain things you just shouldn't be doing, you know. But so I think we need to identify as you know,
Exclusive duties.
especially we need to identify and have a conversation about. So that's something to talk about. That's definitely something to talk about.
The exclusive duties. Go ahead, Tamara. I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I think too, and Christina mentioned it, as you go through different seasons, it causes you to fall into different roles. So as Bree was talking, I kind of remembered, and we gotta use wisdom here too. Like, ain't about to be trying to do wife of the year title, wife of the century all the time. It's tiring. It's get tiring. Then resentment is start kicking in, and this is why communication is very important. So when Richie and I first got married, and before we had Talia, because it was predominantly me coming home to cook, it was like, oh, come in the kitchen, come join me, right? Gotta use game. Come, this our quality time. Come in the kitchen, let's go. So while he was in the kitchen, he liked being in the kitchen. So by the time I had Talia, he had like one meal, homemade spaghetti. That was it. He had that down pat. Ain't nobody could do it like him. I can't even do it like him. Time is he had Takaya, but he had Takaya, it was curry. Curry was it. So when I gone on maternity leave, when I was on maternity leave the second time around, baby, I can tell you now, I don't cook. Like, he loved being in the kitchen. And I talk about it's so bad. My family tease me when they call on Sunday, oh, what Richie cooked today? I'm like, oh, let's see what Richie cooking today. Like, that's my chef boy, RD. I could for that. And so it's okay. Like, if that's something he fall into and he love it, baby, I ain't taking that back. This all yours. Like, I'm okay. I'm good. So I just think you gotta just know the seasons as they come in, and you gotta make sure you're working, because like Bree say, you don't want something happen and you can't do nothing. Like, cause you so dependent on me. No, I can need you to know how to do little something. We can share this. You gotta know how to sort clothes, whites from colors, and the good clothes can't wash with the everyday clothes. And when you go to the food store, it's only certain brands of things. You can't go shy on some, You know, the cereal, you gotta be Kellogg's, it gotta be,
You have to
you,
buy healthy mayonnaise.
it gotta be, yeah, certain things you can't go shy on. So, you know, them exclusive duties, it gotta be working together. It's a team effort, it's a partnership.
Let's touch on intimacy for a second. So, what were your views prior to marriage? Bree, why you get so excited when we start talking about it? So, what were your views on intimacy prior to marriage, and then how did it change after you got married? Kadra, you could go first.
So, I got married at 24, right? So I just assumed when you get married, you can be lovey-dovey, booed up 24/7, all day, every day. And not that you're not when you first get married, but like I learned over the course of our marriage that the moments that I think feel the most intimate are when I'm sharing a dream with him, or I feel supported in a difficult time, or honestly, after kids, just being alone in our bed, just being alone in the same room, being able to actually like look each other in the eye and be like, how was your day? With no one else, no interruptions. Those things end up feeling more intimate, or it felt more intimate for me after, like, you know, as time went on. Albeit I miss being able to like go for coffee all the time. And like I say, we were long distance for a long time. So we were always going out. That became like our routine. We go to the movies and we go to dinner and we go for lunch and we go for this because we got to make as much of the time as we can. But now it's almost like being in the quiet moments together is special.
I like that. What about you, Christina? What was your views on intimacy before marriage? How did it change after?
So honestly, so I like agree with Kadra. I think it changes, like your certain needs and wants change as you like grow, right? And so what intimacy was to me, like beforehand, like Kadra said, was the touchy feely, like give me the goosebumps, you know, make my heart a little flutter, and all of those things. But then understanding that, you know, then real life happens, like bills happen, stresses, work, all these things. And so sometimes it does change. Like yes, it's nice to still have the little butterflies and all that stuff. But like I just said, it's just like you find it now in like the simple things, just like, hey, he comes home, give me a kiss on like the forehead or something. How was your day? And so intimacy changes. And so I think it's important to not be so close-minded and also acknowledge that people love differently. So what intimacy for me is different from what it is for my husband. And so respecting that. And I'm a firm believer in love languages. People show their love in different ways, and that is attached to like how they see intimacy. Some people, it's more of a sexual, like physical thing. Some people, like Kadra said, is talking about dreams. And so I think once you get set on what intimacy is for you, be open about it, because nobody's a mind reader, especially these men. They can't read a mind. They barely can understand when you say it in English, like face to face. And so I think it's very important to be like, hey, this is how I would feel loved by you, or hey, this is what will, you know, make me feel whatever it is that you are looking for. So for me, it has shifted now. And even now that we have a child, it's just like Kadra said, it's just a simple, hey, how are you? Like just checking in with each other and intentionally making time for each other now. So it shifts, it changes.
Abri, you was excited. So how has your views on intimacy changed after marriage?
So Shannon, next time you see me do this, that was me ducking the question. So the first thing, intimacy isn't just sex. And that's a big misconception, especially it's a, I don't want to call it not immature in a condescending way, but that's a very immature way to think of intimacy as just sexual, because in a marriage where you are committed to someone and you are going through different seasons of your life with them, sickness and health, you know, rich, poor, you're gonna find yourself in different places, and sex, while it could be it's something to reconnect you, it can't be the only connection. One of the things that I appreciate most about my husband, regardless of any issues we go through, my husband is really, that's my ride or die. In the midst of everything that I went through as an individual, mental issues, depression, so many different things, I could have talked to him or just exist in the moment. Whatever it brought out of me, whatever I was dealing with brought out of me, I could have existed in that moment without hearing him say I'm going, or hearing him say this look crazy, or hearing him say anything like that. And I think that really captures intimacy for me, is knowing that you could go through any season. I mean, wig, no wig, sick, whatever it is, like literally the fact that you could be 100% you, whatever you look like in that, whatever you look like in that moment. Because you know, he's seen me in it all, you know, and the fact that you don't have to pretend. Like I know I've heard some people, they get up in the morning and draw on the eyebrow and take the, you know, the husband ain't never see the silk cap, or, you know. So just being able to exist in every moment with someone, knowing that the first, second, or even third thought isn't to leave you, or isn't to bash you, or, you know, that's the most important thing for me. And then sex just ties that all together. When you have that physical interaction with that person that you're doing all of those other things with, cooking with, cleaning with, driving with, talking with, the first idea you're sharing it with them, and when you get to tie all that together with the, you know, that kind of, that's the cherry on top. So yeah, so it's wide. It's wide. Whatever your life looks like for you and how your partner plays into that's true intimacy for me.
Thank you for sharing. So as we wrap up, I gotta touch on family and friends.
Chana, don't wrap up yet.
No,
I think we glossed over the whole sexual intimacy. We were very like general, and we get plenty.
Okay, no, if you got some points, Deaconess, share your points.
I think we just gloss over the whole importance of sexual intimacy and what these stewards is expecting. Like, so for me, I think after marriage, I didn't realize that when things ain't things, you still think it's okay, you can get the thing. Like these stewards is be serious, like they still want it, you know what I mean? So like people need to be clear as the wife. Your husband ain't gonna not want it. Like it ain't gonna be no time he ain't not want it. And you need to have these conversations. We had to have conversations like, what is your expectation? Like how much times you really trying to do this? You know, like just the conversation you have to have. And then I got married at 24. I feel like you peak at different times. So then I was pregnant. I was like a rabbit on heat. You know what I mean? I was trying to like, let's do this. But these the conversations you have to have and know and understand. Like when you get married, you can't be saying, I have a headache every night, because they can get hip, and when you come home, he can ask you how you doing. And then if you say you okay, so you need a Panadol or Excedrin or Motrin before you go to the bedroom, because baby, you're coming. Like, so I just said, I want your thing. It's gravy. How do you navigate that dating save? I reading the question in the chat from Frank L. Minister Frank L.
She said, have these questions before or after marriage.
I mean, we talked about sex before marriage. We
Okay.
talked about what the expectation was. Some people wanted 7 days a week. So you got to know if you can be ready for 7 days a week, twice a day. Like, jump in, Christina. You can jump in. You can jump in.
Tamara, hold on, Tamara. My thing is, if these fellas, sorry, let me come on this kid. Let me hold on. Where he even is.
Come,
Because
Master.
hold on, girl. I can't even find anyway. What I'm saying is, y'all can't see me because what I'm trying to say is, if this boy, everybody coming in as supposed to be, I know everybody aren't virgins, but you can come, but no, you don't have no expectation for me, sir. So
Oh, you think so?
So no,
You
I
think
know
so?
they have expectation. Hold on. What I'm saying is your expectation could be your expectation before. Now y'all can see me. I don't know. You see this hair? Listen, your expectation could be your expectation. But what I'm saying is I agree with what everyone is saying because you have different seasons, right? Like after you have listen, I have a 2-year-old and I was just telling someone the other day, I was just like, I being real with y'all. Like I say, it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks. Like, and I think after you come home and it's just like, especially if you're working or I work from home, but I have my 2-year-old with me all day. It's so hard to separate. Now, when we do have sex, I'm like, gee, why do I go so long without this? And you know that feeling? Like, you all know the feeling. It's just like, how do I live my life without this thing? This so good, but I don't understand how I live without it. So all I'm saying is the expectations are there, but we have to, I think what everybody is saying is you have to recognize the season that people are in. And for me, I'm like, okay, now how do I come back after this? Like, how do you bounce back, right? Because you already get someone used to this pattern or whatever you do. So then it's just like after kids, maybe that's my question for you, Minister over there. How after your kids, because I know you, after your kids, then how did you kind of, like jump back?
So you have to have the conversation and be real. Like, this is what I am feeling. I am tired because XYZ, or what I need you to do. If this is what you want, this is what I need you to do. So for me, we knew, like, I was the mother who said I did not want my child in the bed with me. It's not happening unless you have a fever or you sick. That was the only time the kids were in the bed with us. That was something that we were intentional about. So the crib was in the room with us. When it got to the point where, okay, she's getting a little older, and now you trying to do this thing a little bit more regular, it was like she gonna need to come out the room because legs up and baby peeking over the crib ain't cute. Like I had the real conversation. So for me, it was just having the conversation, but like, babes, I need you to handle the girls before when I get home, or like, can we set the alarm for like 5 o'clock? Like, I like morning sex, so like, let's do that instead. Like, why y'all are there? My children are listening. Why y'all there? I'm getting something. So, that's just, I think it's more so having the conversation, and I feel no man wants their wife to be a log, and that's what I had to say. I'm like, if you try this and I ain't there, I'm gonna be a log. They don't want a log, so help me, so I can help us, or we can help each other, but it's just a conversation I think we need to have, and we have to be understanding in the season that we are in. Like, you can't expect what I was doing before we had children to continue after I done give birth, I done had stitches and body trying to bounce back. You can't think it could be like, we even had to talk about different positions. Like, some things you just can't do no more. Like, sis, I on road to 40, this little different on this side of town. So I see Joanna hand up. I'm gonna let her go.
quickly, Tamara, could this, like, I know you're speaking from, like, you know, the marriage and the mother aspect, but for those who are like either celibate or you like some like there's some, you know, like born again celibate who, you know, have vowed celibacy until marriage, or some who are still virgins, because I journey with some of my friends who still are. Intimacy is very different because they've asked questions about, you know, well, how do you have this conversation? I've never done it before. I don't have any expectations, or I think all of these things about it. Once again, like Tamara had mentioned, regardless of whether you've done it before or not, just still be open about it. But I'm also an advocate for like knowing your own like sexual like health and what it is that you want, that you want to try, that you want to allow yourself to be a woman. Like I think sometimes like we get so shamed about our sexuality as, you know, Christian women. We need to put no, as far as I'm concerned, God made sex, and so I don't think anybody should
And
be
he
shamed
said it was good.
because
Wow.
everything
Okay.
that he makes is good. But no, it's seriously having that conversation and not being afraid to have these conversations, not being afraid to talk about like your sexual health or certain things. Like even if you talk about them with like your girlfriend, try to be like, hey, you know, is this okay? Or talking about them with like if you are in like a committed relationship and it is something that you know are anticipating and waiting for, have those conversations, but also keep an open mind that it may be completely different than what you expected. So don't go in thinking it could be this and then it ain't gonna be that. But also takes, you know, trial and error. If you try something, you don't like it, try something else. Like get into your own groove, get into your own flow, like know what it is that you like, what you don't like, speak up. Because as far as I'm concerned, these men don't ever shy away from saying how they feel, saying what they want, saying what they don't want. And so it's important that as women, we also advocate for like our sexual needs and wants and not feeling shamed or allowing anyone else to shame us about it like that. So I just wanted to bring it back to, you know, helping the singles out there who were still kind of y'all still like waiting, trying to navigate this. Cause I have my friends talking about, girl, I need to go take a cold shower. And like, I was like, you know what? I cannot relate. However, I'm with you in like your journey if that is what it is that is that you want to do. But once again, don't allow anybody to shame you about it. When you do it, you know, enjoy it, explore it, have no expectations. That's usually like my first thing. Have no expectations and be surprised by everything that happens. And if you have questions, still ask them. Like, don't be scared to have those like conversations. Like, I'm always open to have those kind of conversations, but that's just, you know, I'm just that type of person.
Like Tamara said, that was discussed as well in premarital, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like the ebbs and flow, like preparing for the different transitions of life that need to be discussed as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answered your question. Joe, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to come in because when I saw Frank Hill post that question about should we talk about this before, let me tell you, I just started like bubbling in here. Absolutely. I know culturally for us, Christian nation, sex is the worst thing on the planet. And then afterwards, the expectation is you better be able to do tricks from the ceiling to the floor. So it is a hard pivot for a lot of people to come out of bad, this ain't good, don't even think about it, don't even say the word. Then you have this ultra sexual husband, or if they're not, they're just a man with needs, with desires that God created them for. And now you're coming in timid, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. And that's why I think it's important for us to build healthy conversations. You can't change the home that you're raising, the culture that we're around, but starting with the understanding that sex is good, it is right, God created it. Like that might sound basic for some people, but some of us even have to start at that level. Because if you hear something is bad for so long, when you're actually now, it's time to perform, either you feel like you a hoe, I mean, respectfully, because you know, it was so bad, but really you're just now exploring the beauty of what God created. But now you're always looking over your shoulder. I think those conversations are so important. And I will say it is very important to have that conversation with your spouse. there are always varying degrees. If God gives you someone that has already been sexually active, Frankel, and let's say in your case you were not before, right? In my position, my husband, he was unscathed before the marriage. Baby, that wasn't my story. I ain't say I was out there, but I'm saying, it was just different, right? But the difference with my husband, even though I had already obviously experienced sex, I had a lot of sexual trauma, which is we didn't get a chance to discuss those things. Again, all of those taboo. So my husband, he came in, I remember our first night when we got married, I was actually on my cycle. And he came in with this mindset. He already knew, of course, what was going on with me at that time. And I mean, the man laid out the red carpet for all the other things that maybe could happen, that we didn't have to get nasty or cross the border. And some people into that. I know, but I'm just saying. And for me, it was just we both had our own expectations of how we wanted to show up that night. I on my cycle, but I mean, this man just married. He probably ready to jump through the roof. I gotta go in my Bonnie bag of tricks and do whatever. And I remember saying to him later in marriage, he thought he had to perform in a particular way, and I thought, and because we never had the conversation before, we're both trying to do things that really wasn't the best experience for both of us. So I'm saying that to say it's important. The depth of how far you and your spouse to be goes, I think it's unique to your relationship, but a conversation should be had, even if it's, hey, I've never done this before, or I have, and it really wasn't the best experience. I don't even really know what to expect. I obviously am interested in sex, but I have trauma here, or I don't have a real experience. I did a few things, but I don't really know. I feel a little insecure about my performance, but I'm willing to explore with you. Like certain conversations I wish I had with my spouse. So be open to, you can talk to the girls, you can talk even with counselors. I think it's very rare to have a combined conversation with your counselor and be like, so what would you like? What was it? I wouldn't want to do that with a pastor or counselor, because if he had what I like, they might put me out of church. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about that with the pastor, but I am saying have that conversation again, even if you feel like brand new or you feel grand, this is the person you can spend the rest of your life with. I don't want to be like sour Susie on wedding night, but I am telling you I'm a little bit afraid, or I have sexual trauma, or sometimes I feel like I'm ultra sexual. You know what? And this is a conversation for another day. Also, people who have explored through pornography or different things, even those have built some unhealthy or unrealistic expectations. So now you hoping big boy come in with a big boy, and if he is not the big boy, you crying on your wedding night. Like, this could go so many different ways. Or he could expect you to be Barbie 2.0 and the legs movable from him, and that's not just it. Like, it could get, and it does as time go on. So just even if you need to have the preliminary, I'm willing to explore with you. I feel insecure here. I feel a little prepared here, but I think just letting your husband know that because we're in this for the long haul, I'm willing to try and explore with you. I need you to be patient with me in this area. I feel a little ill-equipped, whatever your situation, and you don't have to do it in an uncomfortable way, but at least give them a heads up, because I found for men, when you let them know, maybe they'll come in a little more gentle. Maybe they'll give you a little bit more time. Or if you say, hey, you ready for the romping shot? He might come back with that big energy because that's what you want. Like, have the conversation in Jesus' name. Bye, y'all.
Joe, you killing me, girl.
In Jesus' name, have the conversation. Deaconess, that's good for you? Or you have some other points?
That's it. That's good. That's good.
Okay, I know Christina has to go soon, but I do want to get your this could easily be a part 2, because I feel like we ain't even touched, the surface. But I do want to touch on the blending families, because when I reached out to all of you individually about points, about things that you wish you knew before marriage, I feel like maybe before y'all probably mentioned the whole family thing, like blending families, and that being something that you wish you knew, or I guess considered more prior to marriage. So Christina, you could go first because I know that you have to leave, but what did you wish you considered prior to marriage about, these two families coming together?
So one, my first point is that my mom told me it, and at one point we always think we know better than like our parents when it comes to certain things, but that whole when you married a man, you married a family, it's very true. It's very true. It's very true. You so I married my husband, I married his mother, his brothers, his father, the cousins, everybody. And so I think it's very important that you get to know your partner's family. It's different when you have the one-off relative that you just can't stand. I think that's in every, like, I have relatives that I don't like myself, but ensuring that, like, I was big on my husband coming to family events because my family, we are very close knit. Like we celebrate each other's birthdays like every year together, and so that's how close we are. And for him, he's the same way, right? But for example, my cousin is dating another guy where they're not that close with their family. And so him coming to all of our family events is like a culture shock for him. He was like, "Oh, y'all spend a lot of time together." And I'm just like, if you don't like your family, just say that. But like, we like to be around each other a lot. But understanding, because my husband came from that dynamic, it worked well for us in that sense. However, when it comes to, dealing with in-laws, so my husband and his father, their relationship is kind of up and down or whatever. And so, so that side of the family, I didn't really know that well, but understanding the dynamic between my husband and his dad, that does play a role in our marriage certain times. And so understanding the dynamic between your spouse and his family and how some of that tends to kind of rub off in your marriage, but you have to like catch it and have a conversation about it. And there were also times where, my mother-in-law, I love her to death. She is like another mother to me, but there's still a boundary that has to be set. And I learned that I can't set that boundary. That boundary has to be set through my husband with his mother. I told him, I was like, I should never have to speak to your mother about something that has to do with our marriage. It's like, that's your responsibility to do. Because I'm also that person. If I have to address your mommy, it's going to be a problem. And so, but it's the same on my end. If it's something with like my mother, I also have to set that boundary for my spouse. Like you should never feel as though you're not protected by your spouse when it comes to their family and vice versa. So like blending the families, like take them around, like bring them to your family functions, let your family meet them and feel them up, because sometimes we don't see things that our family members may do because we all in love, we all get rose-colored glasses, you don't necessarily see all of these things. Prime example, my ex-boyfriend was head over heels. My mom was like, no. Come to find out, like years later after we broke up, my cousins were also like, yeah, no, it wasn't gonna work in this like family. And not to say like like I said, there are some families that are just but I'm not talking about like those in that instance. No, I'm talking about like the said who genuinely care for you, wanting the best for you, and so they're gonna be cognizant of who it is that you bring around them. Do that. Like, don't just show up with the man because like you may miss certain things, or you realize, oh, they're not really a family person. Then you pull yourself away from your family because you want to appease the man, but that's not something that you want to do, not something that you're used to doing. And so I think it's very important, like when you're dating, bring them around, let your friends meet them, let your family meet them, see how all of y'all could coexist and live together, and go spend time with their family as well. Like it's not just one or the other. Both of you are coming into different families, learning how to respect you people, love each other. And so that for me is what I've had to learn. My biggest thing was like setting boundaries with the in-laws when it comes to getting this whole thing. But I think once you get past that, I think it kind of flows smoothly after that. But also leave and cleave. If you don't have a man who could leave and cleave, hey.
Did y'all touch on that in premarital or no? Or that
Yes, we
was
did. That was something that we that we touched on about it, because my pastor was very, very clear about that. He was like, leave and cleave. When you leave your mother's house, your wife is now the main person in your life. And so, and that's vice versa. Like my husband is like, your marriage comes first. Like they say, your marriage is your first ministry. And so you deal with your family accordingly thereafter. I think it's because there are some people who, you know, they still put their family first. They still will go to their mother for opinions over their wives. And so it's just like, the cheapest you to marry your mom. What you marry me for if you're gonna go and get your final approval from your mother? And so looking out for those things. And some men, yes, they are mama's boys. They all like, but some of them learn how to leave and cleave, some a little later than others. But if you have one that just ain't trying to leave and cleave, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a problem. And don't go in thinking, oh, I just love the man, his family, they crazy or whatever. No, because you're gonna have to deal with that crazy family that you married into for however long you remain married for. So you don't just marry the man, you're marrying him as well as his family. So make sure you like them, or make sure that who you're marrying has enough balls to stand up for you and protect your marriage and you when it comes to their family.
Thank you for that, Christina. Everyone say, Christina is about to leave us. So everyone say bye to Christina. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. Let's give Christina some hand clap emojis. Bye, Mama Bear. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for sharing. Always so authentic as always. Kadra, I want you to tackle that question next. So what did you, when it comes to blending families, what about it that you wish you had considered before marriage?
So one of the things that I guess really popped up more, I guess, as marriage goes on, was realizing the influence that that person's family has. So I mean, pre-marriage counseling, as well as when we dated, I got to know my husband's family, he got to know mine. I mean, and my similar to Christina, my families were deep close, fourth, fifth cousins close. You know what I mean? Regular family reunions, prayer breakfast every month, close. So, you know, we, for example, things that my family does, my husband's family doesn't do, but we had those conversations before marriage. I said, you know, I would want my children to be this close with their cousins. How do you feel about that? So even where we had differences, we discussed it. We came to points where we could both agree, this is how we want our children to be raised. This is how we want to go about our marriage and how our new family unit would be. But also just the influence that that person's family still has on them. I mean, they're cleaving to you, right? You're still their first person. But that's still their mommy. That's still their daddy. That's still their sister. You know what I mean? That's still the person that's known them since they were, you know, a little baby. And they're important to them. And they mean a lot to them. And things happen in those people's lives that change those people sometimes. So sometimes it's also the influence. I would say I didn't consider the influence they would have on different aspects, because again, not that I don't recommend getting married young. I'm happy I got married young. You know, I mean, there's ups and downs. We got to grow together through a lot of things, but a lot of people haven't hit their, I don't know, what's it called, equilibrium yet in your family or theirs, right? So, for example, I have family who don't live in the Bahamas, and I'd like to go visit them with my spouse, with my children. That's now an influence on me that my husband has to consider. This is now a trip we're gonna have to make to keep my wife happy. You know what I mean? The expense that comes with that, all of that. So it is an influence both sides on who that person becomes, what they like to do, what they want to do, their desires and things like that. So even what do, you know, your spouse or future spouse's family members, how do they feel about certain things? Because I don't think I asked them, boo. I was like, do you like me? As long as you like me, then you're not going to tell them not to marry me. You know what I mean? It didn't go much deeper than that, I must say. But now I'm seeing it's important.
Yeah. No, that's a good, I like that perspective. Because you said, I didn't think about that, but you said the influence that the family has on the person you're marrying, like they're influenced by their family members. That makes sense. Tamara. Tamara,
Why
I
are
want
you
to
laughing?
no,
Laughing
because
with
I
me.
want to ask you about friendships too.
Okay.
Not just the blending of the family, but how did the friendship dynamics change? Or did any friendship dynamics change for you after getting married? Did you guys have any friends of the opposite sex?
I have friends of the opposite sex, but all of those friends were introduced to Richie as brothers because I have like a lot of dudes who've just become very close. Like we brothers, that's who the children now call. Either they would have stood godfather or they know them as uncle. Um, and I'm trying to think if he had any female friends that no. If anybody knows Richie, he's very happy-go-lucky. Like you see him, he always smiling. And so for me, he was always introducing me to women, more so I would say colleagues and cousins who he was very close with. Um, but I never felt like it was never, I'm uncomfortable, we need to cut this off type thing. It was always, we were always, I guess, um, truthful, transparent, like from the onset of who these persons were. For me to say that after marriage, I would have established a relationship with somebody of the opposite sex, a friendship, not, no, no. Like I have work brothers, and the people who I call work brothers actually know Richie. So like they just call him for other stuff, but they can make sure like if I need lunch or if I need a ride, it's not a problem. So it's those things, but to say that anything changed, even as it relates to my friends who may be single, and our friendship, no, I think all of us have friends where we relate different things to them depending on where they are. And to be honest, I have a single friend who's very close. Um, she knew Richie longer than I knew him, and she was actually my maid of honor. It just was a coincidence that we all knew each other. But I could, like, if she called me and she asked me like, "What Richie's saying? How you doing?" or whatever, I'd be like, "Well, if we ain't the best, I'd be like, it's one of those days. You need to talk to your brother, talk to him." And I'm that person. Like not that I will put my business out there, but I don't do well faking. So I won't ever be in a marriage where I'm faking because I'm trying to save face. And Richard learned that very early in our marriage. Like if things, he ain't getting up with me because I will to show it on my face. And then if somebody asks me, well, tomorrow what's going on, I can say, well, this dude right there, he pissed me off. So I'm really not in the best mood. So I don't feel like talking. Like that's just me. So, but as far as friendships changing, for me, it wasn't a change.
LaDonya, did you have any friendship dynamic changes after, or friends of the opposite sex?
It's a no for me. It was a no for me.
Does
No,
hubby have any friends of the opposite sex?
not that close.
Okay.
No, probably some coworkers from eons ago who live in a totally different country. But other than that, no, no. And then he's a very easy person to fill in. So all of my friends love him. Yeah, we didn't have that.
My last question is, what is your the best aspect of marriage for you? or no, not the absolute best. What are some of the best? Because I know it may be hard to pinpoint one, but what do you enjoy about marriage most that you probably didn't consider as a single?
I didn't expect the, I guess, the assurance of someone having my back. Because like I said, I have a close family. I have very good friends. I mean, friends that I would absolutely say absolutely have my back, eyes closed. You know what I mean? But it's different with my spouse. It's just another level of, if this person is here, I could turn my brain off because I know I'm good. I didn't expect to feel quite as, boop, as I mean, boop is the best thing I could say. Like, I could clear my head. And I'm one of them people, I'm just checking my rear view mirror while I'm driving forward, knowing ain't no one behind me, just to make sure they're still not behind me. When I'm with my husband, I mean, I don't even check if car is coming down the road. I'm walking. He'll say no, let's wait.
So your favorite aspect is the boop.
Yeah, just the comfort that's there, that assurance that I know this person. It doesn't matter if we row, it doesn't matter if we're in full disagreement mode. That's not going to change that he has my back.
I know you had mentioned too, Kadra. I think it was you who told me about like the unity, like you have an assurance too that when you agree in prayer. Could you speak on that too?
Sure. Every single thing that we agree on comes to pass without fail. I mean, and not even the long delay. I can't when he and I say, yeah, let's do that, it happens. And it's always a great time or a beautiful experience or peaceful, and the whole thing. Wow. And that, I think, is that secret power in marriage, that covenant power that a lot of, I would say, I guess, other relationships don't have. That your agreement has a power that changes physical circumstances.
Wow, that's powerful. LaDonya, what about you? What are some of your favorite aspects of marriage?
I definitely agree with Kadra on that, like that safe feeling. I get that. I also would like to add the comfort of companionship, and not just any companionship, but like companionship that you enjoy. Like, we laugh a lot. Y'all see me all smiley all the time. That ain't fake. That's how we are. Home all day, all night, cracking joke, just enjoying life together. And when we're not together, it's like, let me call him. Because I think Corella had asked that question in the group before, like, oh, how often did you guys talk while you were in the dating phase? And mostly everyone was like, every day. And it's like, yeah, every day. And that's what I really, really enjoy. I really can't even fathom the time where we probably won't have the everyday, being able to just crack jokes and talk about everything and anything. And I agree with that too, Kadra. Like, the shut the brain off thing, like, it don't even matter. It don't even matter when we're together. So I really enjoy that so much, and not having to worry and stress about certain situations, like certain things I just don't have to be concerned about, because it's him. I know him. I know his character. I know what he stands for. I know what he believes in. So when other people are experiencing these different wild situations, I'm like, wow, that's wild. Child, let me go home. Where it's safe. It's safe over here. Safe. And I love that.
I love that. Bree Gone. I see Bree tomorrow. What's your favorite aspect? Oh, I'm sorry, Bree. I think I cut you off. Tomorrow, what's your favorite aspects of marriage?
I am so with Kadra. It's just being able to depend on that person, like just knowing, I agree with Kadra, I agree with LaDonya, just knowing like that person, like he there, he got me. I ain't gotta think twice. I ain't gotta like I could be at the food store and for whatever reason this card ain't working. Like Richie, what we do, like I ain't gotta try to figure it out. I ain't gotta have a plan or an answer. Like it's just knowing it's that. I definitely agree with the power of prayer, like knowing that I have somebody who covers me, who covers our household and understands. I think understanding the weightiness of the title that they have, like I ain't just walking around here being husband, my chest out, and is woe is me. Like, no, they understand and you could see them walking it out. So it just makes you so much more happier. Like, if you happy, I happy. I happy, you happy. Like we just happy, But I think overall, I just love knowing that. And I think probably coming from like being on my own outside of my parents' house from 19 and just knowing I don't have to have it all. Like and I think me and Kadra talked about this, like if the car breaks down, we just could leave it there on the side of the road, or like you either coming for me or you sending somebody, like that's just I'm good. I'm very dependent. I'm not Miss Independent. Ain't trying to be it no time soon. Once he here, I am very dependent. Like I need you, babes. So
Y'all, Tamara tell us all the time how she's a passenger princess. She literally wears that title proudly.
proudly.
Bree, what about you, honey? What are your favorite aspects of marriage?
Well, I'll be honest and tell you all, marriage is rough. Marriage is rough, but what I love about my favorite aspect of it is who it has pushed me to become, and my husband. Marriage, for me, I've had a rough marriage. Especially both of us not everyone likes to say it. They always like to say I'm the stronger one in Christ. But it has really helped me to prune my character in God. It was through marriage that I really, both me and my husband, it helps us to find Christ, because to overcome circumstances, we need that unconditional love. We need that forgiveness. We need that patience. We need all those things that the Bible talks about. And I think without marriage, I wouldn't be the woman of God that I am today, because everyone else you could kind of run away from. You could cut off friends and all that, but because of the commitment that you made to Christ in marriage, it really helps to prune you. It really helps to bring that Christ out of you, and that's one of my favorite aspects, when we could come together and realize how much we've grown as individuals, and how much we've also grown in Christ because of it. How our behaviors have changed, how our speech has changed, how the way we interact with each other change, all because in order to get through whatever moment or difficult moment that we are faced with, we had to go to God, because this is something that He sanctioned. This is something that He has the map for. So I love that part about it. I also love having my person, and I didn't really know that you could have that. Like when I call, my husband is one person. I know it don't matter if he's mad, sad, it don't matter if it's raining, it don't matter what it is. When I call, he can pick up the phone. And if he missed the call, he'll call me back. Some people, they could look at the call and they could be like, I feel like talking to Bree today. I feel like showing up. But to know that I could call him, and he's so obligated. He welcomes that obligation. It's like a suck my teeth. I can answer the phone, like whatever it is, that he's willing to be there, to know that I could look up. I remember one time having a major surgery and I looked up and he was right there. So to have that person right there, I love what we get to create. I love how our children look. I love seeing the mix, the blend. I love seeing what marriage can creating, like, just what it brings about, like what it helps you to see. So that's about it.
No, thank you for sharing that, Bree, and thank you for that transparency. When you said that earlier, it reminded me of this quote that I saw earlier today that I screenshot. It's by someone named Paul Washer, and it says, "Marriage is the greatest instrument of sanctification. How would you ever learn unconditional love if you were married to someone who met all the conditions? How would you ever learn mercy, patience, long-suffering, heartfelt compassion if you were married to someone who never failed you, who was never difficult with you, who never sinned against you, who was never slow to acknowledge their sin or ask for forgiveness? How would you ever learn grace to pour out your favor on someone who did not deserve it if you were married to someone who was always deserving of all good things? The main purpose of marriage is that through your marriage, you both become conformed to the image of Jesus Christ." And so when I heard you speak, I remember I screenshotted that earlier today to read that tonight, but I forgot all about it until you said what you said.
You guys tell me that's really what it is. I don't think much people realize how much of who God called you to be is pulled out in marriage. It pulls out the servanthood, it pulls out that love, it pulls out that grace, and marriage alone, that one institution, and that's why I can understand why it's so important to God. That one institution could get you together in so many different ways and prune you in so many different ways that God could get the glory from. You know, just that one relationship could, you know, you could not have nothing else going, but marriage alone will give God glory day after day after day if you embrace it, walk in it as He called you to. So send me that channel. Send that to me.
I will. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining. Before we close out, though, if anyone has any questions, as you know, we always do Q&A at the end. So if anyone have any comments, questions for any of the ladies, for all the ladies, for anybody, now is your chance before we close out. Any final comments, remarks, cries of outrage? Such a great talk. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us. And thank you, ladies, for sacrificing a Wednesday night, a Wednesday evening. I knew like y'all was rushing home in traffic. I know the weather wasn't great, but y'all still found the time to pour into others tonight. So thank you so much for your sacrifice, Tamara, Kadra, Christina, LaDonya, Bree. Thank you so much for even saying yes to do this, for even agreeing to do this. Bree was just like, I know if they want to hear my perspective, because I was like, Bree, we need your authenticity, okay? So thank you so much. And thank you, Avanti, as well. A lot of people don't see Avanti's face, but she is holding us down behind the scenes at Wifer. She's very faithful. She supports us. She holds us up. She holds our arms up. So thank you, Avanti, for all that you do as well. She was behind the scenes holding it down for us tonight. So if no one else has anything to say or any questions for the ladies, Bree, you mind closing us out in prayer? Oh, someone did have a question. Did any of you ever felt like, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm done? And how did you maneuver? That's a good question. That's a good question. Who wanna take that one? Did any of you ever felt like, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm done?
I'll answer. Because as smiley as we are, yes, I think we've all been there. Because marriage really prunes you in a way where, like, even the little things, I'm not talking about the big catastrophic things. I'm talking about like the little things can get on your last nerve. And it's like, if you talk about it, you've had the conversation, you sit down, you did your charts and all that stuff, and then you still experiencing the same thing, it gets so frustrating. That's where grace comes in. And then you really get to experience what Holly Furtick calls it, being like Jesus, and seeing somebody with their flaws and then loving them even in their flaws. and seeing how you can best support them in that, so that it doesn't become something that's resentful and you throw away something that just was fixable because of a rash decision, and you're going off of your emotions in that moment. Like, you really have to give it to God and then figure out how he wants you to deal with it, and then do that. My husband asked me this question a few weeks ago, or probably a couple of months ago. He said, what made you, he said, what, because he saw the change. He saw me stop making noise, rowing, carrying on for certain things. And he's like, well, what made you change? And I was like, well, this wifer community helped me to realize that focus on you. Focus on why it's bothering you so much. Focus on why what he's doing is like, what is it reflecting? What is it saying? How can that now be translated in love? Like, it's like, dang, there's so much inner heart work. God, what you doing, Lord? But it changes you from within, and then from within, it affects outwards. And then when that transition happens outward now, I'm seeing changes in him. That's like, oh, okay, I see you. I see you. Shush. Keep playing game. Don't mind him. He can't hear me.
That makes sense, because it say, I think it's like in 2 Peter somewhere, how the behavior of the wife influenced the husband. So that makes sense that you said that you started to work on yourself, and then all of a sudden you saw a change in him. Janelle, I hope that kind of helped, that answer your question. Anyone else have? Let me look through the chat real quick.
Good night, everyone. I do actually have a question. It's Erlene. Hope everyone is well. My question is actually for LaDonya, because I remember you said that you were married before. So the question is, what were some of the things that you had to change from LaDonya in the first marriage to actually be more successful in the second?
Hi, Erlene. Boy, that's a heavy question. That's a heavy question, because I got married first at 21. So I was very young, very green. And it was always my desire to, I guess, be away from this. This sounds so bad, but to be on my own, and to start my own family, and to have my own everything. So that was my mindset, right? So got into a marriage very young, hoping for the best, and it didn't work out because the lifestyles just did not agree. And after I came out, divorce could be very traumatic and expensive. Traumatic though, traumatic. I was in a mindset of, I don't want to do this no more. Forget that. And I had to talk with my uncle, who is like a father figure to me. And he was the one who basically encouraged me and let me know that, that God wants us to have that type of love and bond with someone, and don't feel like just because you had a bad experience with somebody else that there isn't something beautiful still out there for you. So after having that conversation with him, it wasn't that I went on this journey looking for nobody. Like I tell you, the man show up at Sandlands working, not as patients. And it was just me just going through my purpose, doing what I had to do, and he just showed up. But in the midst of that, he also showed me a whole different side of what love could be. And that's what I believe I really needed. I needed to see that there was someone who could actually be for you without just wanting something from you, and to stand with you through the wildest of circumstances, and not to judge you on your actions before or the decisions that you made. Like, it was a total 180. And I was just blown away. Honestly, I was blown away, and I'm very grateful for that experience. I don't know if I answered the question. I hope I did.
Yes, Yes, I get the whole gist of it. I don't know if anybody else had a previous marriage that can add to it, but I directed it to you because I remember you saying you were married before.
No, that was a good question. Anyone else have any questions, comments? No. Okay.
Before we go, my final words before we close out in prayer would just be to those who are married or those who are seeking marriage or who are dating, possibly engaged. I think one thing to remember is to extend that same grace that you did while dating with the mindset of this being your husband. And so you allowed certain graces, like the young people to say, you give them a bly. And then for some reason, when we get married, it's now hard and fast. We have a thing where I say, child, you better give your husband a double portion of grace because you can need that. Like that's what we say. I like when he make me mad, I'd be like, you on your double portion right now. We about to be tripling up, but I think we tend to lose that after marriage. So I would encourage persons to remember all the all the graces you gave in dating, all the exceptions made, all the not being so hard and fast because we dating and we trying to make this and we trying to take this further, and then we get married and then the grace stops. So that would be my encouragement to persons who are desiring marriage or engaged to be married or even married.
Thank you so much for that, Tamara. Marriage is most successful when God-centered. Marriage is most successful when God-centered. Thank you, Kadra. Kadra, do you mind closing us out in prayer?
Yes, absolutely. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening that you brought us together with. Lord, thank you for the ladies that have come on, the ladies that have been on the panel. Thank you for Chana. Thank you for Wife Her. Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to speak frankly, to speak with authenticity, Lord, and to share our experiences, to not only encourage and strengthen the women that you have for marriage, the women that you've given the desire for marriage, and the women that you've given a marriage to, Heavenly Father. May you bless them. May you give them guidance, clarity, perspective, Heavenly Father. May you strengthen them up into the women that you seek them to be, God. Bless us as we go back into our daily lives, that we may carry the knowledge that you've sent to us, and may we use it and develop on it as you and your Holy Spirit lead us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good night, ladies. Thank you so much. Oh, Frankel, I didn't see your question. I just see what you said. I do have a question.
No problem. I don't want to prolong, but I was just gonna ask the common question that people normally don't do ask, that we didn't ask tonight. How did y'all know your spouse was the one? I know some people believe in the person being the one and some people don't. Some people have totally different perspectives on how they settled on, okay, this is the person that I'm supposed to marry. So any one of you married ladies can answer, please.
No, that's a good question.
I have a very anticlimactic answer. When I saw my husband, it immediately dropped into my spirit that he was going to be my husband. I mean, nothing happened for years. Because I was like 15 when I saw him. And then I just didn't see him again for years. And then I saw him again one day. We had graduated high school, both of us, and I saw him again, and just an instantaneous connection. But I was at a point where I had already given my life to God and I was focused on that. So I kind of thought, this feels like my hormones. this doesn't feel like that's a real thing. And I fasted, and like that's why I say to me it was kind of like I saw him and here we are, because it was as if we were pushed together. That's the only description I could have for us.
So wait, when you said you knew instantly that he was the one, that was the very first time you saw him, or when you encountered him again? Like,
The first time I saw him, and then every time I saw him after that, it just felt confirmed.
what about you, Tamara? Because I know you met him in high school, but you said you guys didn't date. So at what point?
It was more so when we reconnected, and I knew I had already prayed to God, and I had said what I wanted in the husband. This is what I want in my husband. This is I want X, I want Y, I want Z. And like I was very specific. I was like, God, I don't want nobody shorter than me because I didn't tall and I like heels. And I was like, I talked to Daddy, like he said, tell me what you need. I tell you what I needed or what I wanted more so. This is what I wanted, but he gave me what I needed. And thankfully, and I always pray, God, let my will be aligned with your will for my life. But I think for me, after I got confirmation, pardon the beeping in the background, that's the microwave. After I prayed and I put to God what I wanted in a husband, and Richie and I were very close. We were very like I used to tell him all my business because I like we were friends, and so we have this thing. I tell him if I didn't know I was gonna marry him, with certain things I wouldn't tell him. But I also got confirmation when I knew he was gonna be my husband. God confirmed it through someone who didn't know me, didn't know him. He pretty much said like what you've been through in the past, let that go. Who you got, like just this is it. And so that was that. Like Richie and I dated 2 years before we got married. And I said I didn't want to do long-term dating because I had been with the person prior 7 years. So I was like, I ain't doing this no more. It's garbage. Like if we ain't know what we doing, then. But I was very clear with what I spoke to God and I told God this is what I wanted. And I would say at the top of my list was I wanted a man who knew how to love me the way I love. Because I felt like the females, the friends who I was around, the community, it was always us as women pouring into men who didn't reciprocate the same thing. So I wanted to feel like you love me just as much as I love you. And when I say I get that times 100, I get it times 100. So.
Passenger princess. What about you, LaDonya?
I so hate to be this person. But you just know. Like I didn't have a list, guys. I'm sorry I wasn't the person who had the list because I felt like when I had the list, when I got the cute guy, he break my heart. I get the ugly guy, he break my heart. And I get the Christian, he break my heart. So it was like, you know what? Forget this list. Whatever. And it wasn't until, like I explained, it wasn't until he started to show me things that I've never experienced before, like that level of love and care and gentleness, the gentleness that really did it for me. And I just could not see myself, like I could not see a day without him. I just couldn't see it. It just wasn't gonna make no sense. And we did break up that one time, but that didn't make no sense. And then was like, yeah, just what we doing? Like, just get back together, yeah. Stop doing foolishness. So it just was together ever since, and it was like, that's it. So I'm sorry, I don't have the spiritual revelation. Ain't no angel come to me in no dream and nothing like that. It was just this it. It was just that.
I feel like I hear that a lot though. Like you just know. I just knew.
I'm sorry I had to be that person, but that's it for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining. We will see you next month for Focus Fast. Thank you so much. Bye, ladies.